now we'll go through the Xero integration with the BOAhub. In this release, the integration that we've built is between the job card and the Xero invoice. There are other sections of the BOAhub that we could build an integration between the BOAhub and Xero, such as other inventory items that are not stocked by BOA, a connection between customers, etc. But in this release, we have built the integration between the job card and the invoice only. Other developments could be done in the future, but for starters, it's just a job card to invoice. So this integration is available to only the owner and the admin user types. So the operator user type can't use the integration, and this is to provide control over who can see data that's essentially stored in Xero. The other thing to be aware of is you do have to have TUI set up on your Xero account for Xero to integrate with any third-party app that's required. And if you don't have TUI set up and do try to set up the integration on the BOAhub mobile, you'll be displayed a bit of a funny error page. You do need to go into your Xero account, click on your profile, which is in the top right-hand corner, select account, and then set up against the TUI information tab. Then you follow the prompts of whatever TUI app you choose to set up. Once you have got TUI set up, you go into the BOAhub and click on settings. And here you can see an extra section called My Integrations and Connect to Xero. So I have connected to Xero previously. If this was the first time I was connecting, I would be displayed a window asking me for my Xero login, email and password. The details you put in there are exactly what you put into Xero when you log into Xero. Then you choose your organisation if you've got more than one organisation and click Allow Access. And that's your integration set up. So when that was being set up, the BOAhub was looking at Xero and checking GL codes. If the GL codes and the product codes that the BOAhub uses didn't exist, it would have created those in your Xero account. A list of the GL codes and product codes created will be supplied as a PDF. Now, if the user wants to remove or change the GL account that product codes feed up to, they can. They can simply hop into their Xero and either delete or change. However, if a product code that the BOAhub has created is deleted from directly inside Xero, the BOAhub will recreate that product code when it pushes a job card to an invoice. So the GL accounts are not strict or rigid, but the product codes set up by the BOAhub are what is used when the integration's initiated. Now we'll look at a job card. So for this example, I have preloaded a job card, leaving it in progress status. Now you can see I've made that job card out to what we call second latest new customer. In the job details section, I've got a hose assembly, one other inventory component, and then multiple other non-BOA items. Now, as part of the Xero integration release, we have changed the non-BOA item section so you can enter a sell price, and this flows through to the invoice in Xero. So we've got a preloaded job card. Sorry, I didn't look at it, but in there we also had a number set against the travel field and also a number in there against the labour field. If the user has got the Xero integration set up, when they complete a job card, invoice section is displayed. If the user hasn't got an integration set up, i.e. they are either an operator user type or they haven't initiated the setup process, the invoice section isn't displayed to them. So you can see here on screen this fourth section here called invoice after I completed that job card. In here you can see the customer that you made the job card out to is displayed here. This is free text only, and it's put in there as a reminder of who the customer is, i.e. who you need to make the invoice out to. So first step is to click into this Get Xero Customer field, and this list of customers here is direct from your Xero account live, and you can choose any of these ones to make the invoice out to. So I'm going to choose Test Company 2. Next step, you need to choose if you want to create a new invoice or if you want to add this job card to an existing invoice. If you want to add it to an existing invoice, so the default is to create new. If you want to add it to an existing invoice, you need to click this little blue Add to Existing. That turns this field here into a drop down, and all of these invoices returned to us are draft invoices that are currently sitting under this customer's account in your Xero. So if an invoice has been marked as completed in Xero, it's not included in this list, and this list obviously doesn't include invoices made out to any other customer outside of what's been chosen in the option prior. You can also see, so the top piece of information displayed here is the invoice number. We are also displaying the date the invoice was created. So if you had, say, 3 invoices in draft at any one time made out to a customer, the invoice creation date is a good indication to help you know which one you want to choose. So the option to add this job card to an existing invoice is there. In this example, we're going to create a new invoice. Then the next option you've got is what status you want the invoice to be in your Xero account. Here you can choose to leave it as draft status, or you can mark the invoice as complete and initiate the email to the client. So in this example, I'm choosing leave as draft. If I was at a job and I wanted to send the invoice to the client right there and then, in that example, I would choose complete and send invoice. So once you're happy with what you've chosen in these 3 fields up here, click Xero Invoice, and this initiates the integration and basically pushes what you've done in BOAhub to Xero. So now we can see this here was the job card we were working with. The job card after clicking the invoice button is immediately marked as invoiced status, and in this invoice section a link is returned and displayed which takes you through to that invoice in your Xero account. So I'm just going to click that link and we'll see what the actual invoice looks like. Now this link is always a live link to your invoice in Xero, so if I had opened up Xero and changed the details of that invoice and then gone back to BOAhub and clicked on this link, the most recent version of the invoice is displayed. So it looks into your Xero at the time of when you click that link and returns the invoice as it is in Xero right then. Now, because I chose to leave this invoice in draft status, you can see it's displayed as a draft invoice. And down here, I still have the option to complete and send the invoice. If I click that button now, that will initiate the email of that invoice to the customer from Xero, and it will also mark that invoice as the completed status. If I'm looking at this invoice and it's already in completed status, this button down here will display a resend option, and I can still click it and initiate the resend of the invoice from Xero. So another thing to be aware of is when we click the invoice button, the customer facing version of the job card is also sent to Xero and attached to that invoice as a PDF. It is automatically set to be sent with the invoice. If a user for any reason doesn't want to send a copy of the customer facing PDF, they do need to open up their Xero account and either mark it to be not sent or delete it from that invoice entirely. In here, we can see exactly what has been pushed from the invoice we created. Sorry, I opened up the wrong one there. So it was job card 17 that we we're just attending to. So you can see in here that it's got 1 hose, 3 meters of spirulina, and then all of those non-BOA items that we had on our job card. It's also pushed 15 Ks of treble and 10 hours of labour, and that's the values and prices and discount, if the customer has a discount set against it, are displayed in here. So a list of what fields are pushed from the BOAhub and what fields in the Xero invoice they populate or generate is also provided on a PDF. So that's the Xero BOAhub job card to invoice integration. It does make invoicing a breeze, and it also means that customers can be invoiced in real time so that there's no delay in the work being done and the invoice being sent.